Back in again for the Ohio Painting Company podcast. I'm the host, Brett, and today we're going to talk about the cold months. What does a painting company do when they can't necessarily work outside? Now, of course, the answer is they just do interior projects, right? But several other things have to go into that. Business items, planning for the spring, so much more that goes into simply putting paint on surfaces. So let's dive in with Kevin and Nick, the founders of the Ohio Painting Company, and learn a little bit more about what they do when the cold stuff shows up. Back inside on the Ohio Painting Company podcast with the founders of the Ohio Painting Company, Kevin Silliman and Nick Goebel. It's good to see you, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
We're doing really good. We're doing fine. So it's the cold stuff has been here for a while. I mean, we've been stuck inside. We've been doing a lot of things, hopefully on the inside, and we're going to dive into that particular topic today to figure out what a painting company does, because I've learned through working with you guys over the past couple of years that paint, it is pretty resilient when it comes to temperatures and things like that. But Ohio temperatures, maybe not so much. I think there was a point somewhere 36 degrees with a particular paint. Obviously on the other end of that, it gets up over 100 degrees when you can use it. But I mean, when the cold stuff's here, base question, what are you guys doing when you can't be painting outside? Twiddling thumbs, as Kevin said.
Yeah. That's introspection and business development. That's just what it is. And doesn't mean business stops. We continue to work inside. Really, inside, when you downsize and that's your focus, and so you're taking on more interior work, even though it's not as much as the exterior work, logistically, you're working around more. You're working in people's homes where they sleep at night, where they're watching TV, where they're playing with their kids, their dogs, everything. So you can't leave that in a state of madness. You create priority areas where you're working and close those off, but people still need to eat, they need to sleep, they need to do their thing. So that's how we kind of fashioned ourselves years ago, is working on how can we do this, rip the Band-Aid off, do a quality job with speed, and give somebody their home back, not make them a prisoner. So all that being said, in the wintertime, even though business goes down, it seems like our management awarenesses go up, and then you're also working on business and development at that point. So we spend a lot of time in the we got a lot of names for it: the war room, the conference room,
The Zoom cloud,
the Zoomy cloud.
Yeah.
So anyhow, that's that in a nutshell. That's kind of where our heads go.
Got it. Now, one of the first questions that I had for the day today, and besides the obvious, I want to know the difference between painting inside versus painting outside. Seasons have changed, they've been changed, but aside from the obvious, like I said, what's the main difference there? I mean, you can get a lot done on the inside when it's cold out, but just talk a little about that. Are you guys more comfortable inside versus outside, first off?
Well, when it's 0 degrees outside, of course.
I suppose.
Kevin can take this. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. The main thing is that you can only use your really good crews. Aesthetically, you want everything to be on top shelf. No matter what, you can't take a new crew that's just been working outside only, or maybe they came from a new construction background, and just throw them into a one of our homes anyway that we're projects that we're working on. That whole realm of education and cleanliness and dust free, so to speak, environment, it's a lot for anybody, and you just can't give that to anybody, so it's a little different for sure.
Definitely when it comes down to cleaning. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. So our training and our recruitment process, training is always happening, but we stop recruiting and we kind of downsize, and that's kind of our weed out process as we go into winter every year. Continue to focus on honing the guys that we have, and our best guys to get even better. And again, in the planning process, we don't stop talking to new painters that are interested in growing and learning our ways, but it's all projection towards March, April, May. So anyhow,
Are people
Kevin, 100%.
are people, when those months do come around, are they ready to get it done immediately? I mean, they've looked at the state of their house or their commercial property, and they've just grown so sick and tired of it through that time. I mean, when they get on the phone with you, how urgent is it for you guys to get there and get started?
Well, a lot of the times, it doesn't really matter. It just depends on the schedule. Um, the the big thing that that we address in the fall is that people want things done before Thanksgiving or before Christmas. So, needless to say, we're inside right now doing as much as we can to accommodate those people. But um, as we speak right now, I mean, this is filming in February, and we're right before Christmas here. So we're still outside,
Right.
which is crazy, but we've got a couple of good weeks left here, and we'll take advantage of them, and hope we go into January and we're painting outside then too. The schedule just gets really loaded. So needless to say, when it does get loaded, then the interior projects do kind of take a little bit of a back burner because we know we're going to have that downtime. So if we can get them scheduled after the Christmas rush, then it's a lot better off. Probably pricing. There's a lot to be said for this issue, or for this whole talk. So yeah.
Well, by all means, elaborate as much as you want, but that is where I wanted to go next, was talking about downtime. And I mean, not necessarily like rolling around on your light up wheels on your chair out in the warehouse or anything like that. I'm not saying that kind of downtime, but what goes on? The business side of things, how does that look when you have more time during your day?
Perfectly aligns with the fiscal year. I mean, you close it out on a downturn or finish strong. This year we're finishing strong, stronger than we anticipated. But then you don't have those numbers really together until, middle end of January. So typically we come back from Christmas and Christmas break, and we've resumed some commercial jobs through that time, and some homes, new homes that people want to move into. But we come back and we rehash where we were, and with it, before we have the numbers and the facts and the really the meat to digest. It's subjective. It's, how do we feel? How did the year go? What do we do good? What do we do bad? What numbers do we have? How did our marketing scheme, how did our different facets in marketing, how did they go? What's a performer? What's not? What can we refine to make more efficient? What do we need to get rid of? How do we work on ourselves? It really becomes, I mean, you talk about self-help books. I mean, they're fantastic to read, but they're hard to implement because you have to rewire it. And there's like a destructive type feeling to where you tear things apart and you rebuild. But you have to do that every year. And there's not a better time to do it. You can't do it when you're busy and you're flying by the seat of your pants. You have to do it when you have intentful time, like we do in the winter. And so that's, we utilize that to the best of our ability, given, any of the facts that we've been able to gather and accumulate. And also with the intent of hitting March and April, and growing year over year. So it takes a lot of effort. Make it sound awful. It feels like that at first, but when you start seeing the changes in yourself and the company, and you start seeing that coming out of March and April, and you have seen that year over year, then it makes it all worth it.
Right. I wanted to jump back and talk. This might be a little bit off topic, but you mentioned that folks that want to get in and get things done before Thanksgiving. Do you notice sometimes that people that want a project complete are going with a specific theme that may not last throughout the entire year, or are they going with neutral colors that will last?
They're pretty neutral. Yeah. There's not, boy, that'd be nice. If we could do, if we could
Seasonal.
painting industry. Yeah. Just, yeah, let's go paint a house red for Valentine's Day. It's coming up. Yeah. Got the old hue lights lit up like peppermint stripes right now outside of the house. But, yeah, no, that's about, traditions that are going to last for, well, maybe not traditions, but, where they're at, the scheme of things right now. And, you just it's hard. Right now we're in a really big change. Again, everything on the outside and inside, nobody seems to have a challenge painting it white. I mean, that's like the big thing.
Mhm.
And whenever people see that a lot, then, other people are like, I don't want to do that. So what are the popular colors coming in? And that's what we sit down with people and talk to them about. So it's a little bit rough. I mean, like right now, but overall it's a fun game, that you just get to be with the client and figure out what those colors are. I don't know if that answered the question or not, but it takes some time sitting down with the customers, figuring out those colors. But yeah, no, it's not a Hallmark season. That'd be great.
Yeah. And I think it might have been kind of a silly question to even ask. I'm not really sure if anybody really does that much work on the interior of their home to get prepped up for a specific holiday paint wise. That's why we have things like decorations that are stuffed in the closet or the Christmas tree or whatever it may be, seasonal, not necessarily changing the whole color of the room. But
Right.
the part about when it stops, and I don't mean stop, but what point exactly in the year do you notice that downtrend? Nick, you might have already brought this up, but I want to harp on it just for a couple of more minutes if we could. How big is that window? When do you notice it stop? How long is it? And then when does it start to tick back up?
Well, we anticipate it usually the end of October. Um, and then you get a little rush after that too. Again, trying to beat the holidays. But I mean, the trouble in Ohio is that you don't know when winter's coming and when it's going. So, you have a 2 to 3 week window or idea of when it's going to slow down. Your job is to be proactive and try to get ahead of that. Tuck all your acorns are tucked away. You have plans in place to transition and to adjust pricing and accommodate the downturn and the demand. But again, and then it picks right back up too for a short sprint before the holidays. This year, I can tell you, we were behind it, and that is because we had a cold snap, and market interests and stuff are kind of changing right now between commercial and residential. They're both kind of on a slight downturn. Not that it's bad, but we went full steam from COVID. COVID. You talk about people sitting in their houses. I mean, that's where that whole spike came from. Everybody's forced to look at walls.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't really paid attention. Like life just goes by, right? We're busy, we're running kids, we're doing all the things, and it slows down. And now you're noticing things that you feel like an idiot that you hadn't noticed for the past 10 years. So we got caught up on all that, and the same thing kind of happens here in the wintertime. People kind of sit around. So on the other side of Christmas, we start getting a pickup on phone calls and interest. But anyhow, this year though, yeah, things are a little bit behind, and so we're adjusting. And then the weather went back up, and we had a bunch of phone calls on exterior stuff. So you're always playing that. You play that game in winter, and you also play it in spring too. There's been years coming into March. March came out the gates at 50 degrees, and you're like, wow, this is fantastic. And all of a sudden, you get 3 weeks where you're averaging at like 20 to 25 degrees, and you can't paint. And like you got projects that you started up, we know how to close them up and fix those and get ahead of those things. So those transitions are difficult, but we're used to dealing with them. It's knowing the fluctuation. Nobody can guess the future, right?
Right.
Kind of have a plan in place.
I suppose you really answered my final question that I had about as being owners of a business. Is it nerve-wracking when the cold stuff shows up? You answered it by saying essentially that you plan for it because there really isn't any other choice. You know that it's coming. You guys know what you do to make a living, and you have to know when the slowdown is coming. And it seems you guys got a pretty good handle on it, right?
Well, is it nerve-wracking? You can plan for it all you want. Kevin, is it nerve-wracking?
Well, I mean, it's spring and fall are like the worst. I mean, without a doubt. Again, like Nick said, you've got cold versus warm, and then warm versus cold. When do you do what? This year, Nick said we got a little bit ahead of it. I think in reality, a good time to paint is, I mean, especially interior wise, obviously, is the winter. And then as January comes along, those prices normally drop so that you can, get more work for your guys and whatnot. But I think this year it came a little early. I think a lot of people got scared. I might be going off topic here, but this is a little bit of just where we're at currently. And a lot of people started dropping their prices really early this year. I know we did. We had done a couple of different advertisements for a free paint upgrade or even a percentage off. And the market around here, they follow. They see the advertisements going out, and everybody jumps on that bandwagon. And then I think what happened was we forgot that we did that, and we kept our regular pricing. So we probably lost a few jobs we could have had this year, by being consistent. But that's just where my mind went. So yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's so many different facets that you're trying to put together and make sure that they run accordingly. And you get hooked into one scenario and you think that that's going to just, follow through to the next year and, for decades to come. And, sure enough, you've got an election coming up. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. So even as fast as I just rambled to the next subject, of what we have to look forward to, that's really just how fast and how crazy it is right now. To have a good, warm, cushiony job inside, your home or whatever you do out there, there's some peace of mind to that, except that you don't have job security. But there's also, if you like that nuance, of always looking for another, what's the next project? What are we doing? Where are we moving on to? If you like that, yeah, this industry is definitely that's there for you, especially in the spring and fall. So hope that brought that all around together with what you were asking there.
Well,
Yeah.
Teaches you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's tomorrow's not for certain. We wake up in the wintertime and it drags on. The skies have been gray for 6 weeks and we're lacking vitamin D. So hopefully we're taking our vitamins and drinking enough coffee to keep things going.
Yeah.
But we get to do this. I mean, we get to do this. We get to meet new people every day and see new places. And so there's, there is a gut check, but you get used to being uncomfortable. And still being able to make decisions. And then we do that in the war room, and that's what winter is about. And also refining and doing some awesome painting projects. I mean, we get into some cool stuff in the winter. They're highly detailed and logistically complex, but when you're flying around outside and visiting 8 jobs a day, when you're inside and you're working on those and those jobs become so complex. Yeah, it's nice to go in there. It's almost like you get to dip back into the transformative process that got you into the industry in the first place. So yeah, all those things.
Man, I don't know how we got this deep into, I mean, through January and already into February without me asking the question, what was the best of the best in 2023? And I think this could probably be an episode where we look back and pull up some pictures, put them in the show. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe there. And, you can follow us anywhere you find us. But let's give a little preview of that. That might be episode 6. We're kind of doing this as we go. I just send you guys notes and you go right with the flow, which I appreciate. There hasn't been too much bucking yet through the first 5 weeks of this, and I really appreciate that. But that preview for an upcoming episode, I mean, what was that job that you just love going to last year?
I don't know that you love going to any job, but I'll roll with that. You have to have the mindset that every job is awesome. I mean, you really do. The challenges that can come up, on every job are pretty consistent. They're the same things. I mean, there's paint chips in the yard. There's,
Right.
whatever it is. So, nothing there. Those are kind of things that you dread because, they just happen. You're always going to walk up at the time when that paint chip is on the floor, I mean, or whatever. And
And
so,
the crew probably figured that out a long time ago too. Like they think everything's perfect until the boss man shows up.
exactly. Yeah. Then we put more paper down or whatever it was. Right. But, some of the bigger jobs that we did this year, were residential, that we really enjoyed. We did one that was, I mean, just a beautiful home that we've got some video of that, started on, I think the video started out at their pool and there's, a couple of palm trees hanging out there, and we're not in Florida, so they were fake, but But just some good drone footage of a monster house that we did.
That was the Spanish one, right? With the arches out there in Waynesville. Yeah.
Yep.
That was cool.
And then some of the bigger jobs. I think one that we had, one of the ones that I'm the happiest about, and I can't remember if this was an Ian or not, but a company called that big blue building that we did out there.
Bullen? Yeah.
That was amazing. I mean, when we pulled up to that, I mean, I kept going out there thinking, color coordination, color combinations, what are they going to do with these colors? And man, they did a great job. The place, it looks phenomenal. So, yeah, without a doubt, that's that's some of the bigger jobs that we did that were really nice.
Other ones that, and the other ones that stand out are sometimes they're not so wow inspired, but they push your comfort zone and what you do and how you grow as a painting company.
Shop smitten.
Well, Shop smitten. That was that. Yeah,
that'll grow you.
Cool things there. Assisted living facilities. We did a string of those that are currently almost at full capacity. So that really kind of grew us in our communication and logistical effort. And I mean, the transformation from where it was, I mean, we're pulling out of 70s into right now, which includes 40 plus years of bad drywall work that we had to fix.
Oh, wow.
So nothing real sexy or glamorous about it, but it's been cool to be a part of that. Buckeye Feed Mill, that was like probably our first step into large scale industrial bins and silos, and we've done a lot of commercial exterior siding and metal roofing, but this was just took it to another level. We had a 120-foot lift out there, regularly using that, and we could probably share that. And the last one that comes to mind actually was like 2 years ago, but it still resonates because of the local hometown feel, and that was the Aaron Wright house. It was the brother of Jonathan Wright who founded the town that Ohio Paintings sits in, Springboro, Ohio. And there's a story behind that where he I don't know if you want to say manipulated his wife, but he definitely incentivized her to come down from New York City down here to Springboro and help build this town with Jonathan Wright. So he built a big old mansion, and it sat there prominently along the street and it was purchased, and we were part of the refurbishment of that redwood replacement, plaster repair inside, and it still shines like a gem, and we get asked about it today. So we could throw that hat in the ring as as a memorable project, and it's always fun to be part of history.
Yeah,
and those older
buildings. It's fun to be part of Springboro. First of all, I mean, it's a great community. We've done shopping complexes here. We've done churches. We've done just you name it. I mean, funeral homes. I mean, it's just a great place. Besides all the residential work,
Right.
So,
yeah. And, I get to see it firsthand. I mean, not necessarily firsthand, maybe secondhand after you guys shoot some video and get things done. But some of these houses that I've seen the Ohio Painting Company be a part of is incredible. And right down to the churches, the, assisted living facilities. I'm trying to think of a couple of others, Weaver Eggs, the hotel project, like all of that mixed in. It really shows that you guys can handle it, and if you don't necessarily know how to handle it, you're going to figure it out pretty quick. Because Nick, you had just mentioned that the silos, that was your first step into that particular area. Even after all these decades of you guys painting, you're still finding stuff. You're still getting taken to school on some of this stuff.
Yeah, we've done bridges and everything. Well, not large scale bridges, but we've done quite a bit. And then to throw ourselves into a silo, and you're out there with a bunch of chicken smell, and I do mean it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. Another one I was going to say was Oakwood. I mean, we have done some major work in Oakwood that, I mean, on these old historical buildings that are houses that are just awesome. I mean, monster houses. We're on one right now. But in fact, this whole little, almost, I guess it's just really a block of houses that, just a lot of square footage. And
they're all houses on the hill too. It's like that's the problem.
Yeah.
The hill. So they all talk. So we do good. We're doing great. We make a mistake. Everybody hears about it. So,
yeah.
But
guys, we really shouldn't get too much deeper into this because we're going to ruin our future best of episode, I think, of you guys talking about some of your favorite jobs, because I think that's what a lot of people want to hear. What was that?
can't talk more about these projects, we'll talk your ear off. We'll have you tied up for hours.
Well, good. That's what we need. It's a podcast, gentlemen. Nick Goebel and Kevin Silliman, the founders of the Ohio Painting Company. I want to thank you both for hopping back on and getting through episode 5 with us, discussing the slow months and the things painting people do when it's chilly outside. So hopefully in the future, we're going to get some pictures and videos put together. That way they can be a part of the YouTube video. If you're listening on PodBean or any other podcast site, be sure to go over to YouTube, give us a like and a subscribe, and you'll be able to stay up to date with much more than just the Ohio Painting Company podcast. We're going to take you guys out to jobs, tell you about different paint colors and paint textures and so much more that can help you make the decision on whether or not you want to paint, or maybe hire the professionals like Kevin and Nick and the crews that they have. So guys, great episode once again. I want to thank you guys for jumping on, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, dude.